hope this works. Alright, I hope the sound is okay. Time to start today's stream. So last week I sent this pull request to remove unreachable or invalid rules from the grammar specification, and the reply was that we should move all these rules to be inside an invalid rule, and in general prevent any rules that have race syntax error in the actions. And I think it's probably good to do that sooner rather than later. It might be a good exercise for changing the grammar itself. So if I go to python.gram, the Python grammar, I search for race syntax error, and I see it's in this type parameter. So this should move to its own role.
Hey,
Hello.
good morning.
How are you?
I'm well. I just flew back to California yesterday,
Ooh,
so I'm
jet lag?
adjusting to the time zone. Yeah, it's nice.
I see. Okay, so what was I saying? So this pull request from last week is already merged, but
Oh
Pablo
my goodness.
says another alternative would be to move these rules to be inside an invalid rule.
Oh, okay.
So that might be a good way to practice changing the grammar and getting that reviewed.
Yeah.
Uh, so I guess it's time for a new branch for that. I don't want all
Oh,
this
grammar
other
change.
stuff.
This is exciting.
Uh, so let's make it invalid grammar. So create a new branch from main. Oop, that's not branch, it's switch. Pull in the latest change from main branch. And now we have phrase syntax error in type parameter, where it's a bit tricky, so maybe let's leave that for later. We have for if clause with invalid for target, and before that we have this. So let's see if I can just take this and move it to invalid for target. And now I need to see if this passes the tests, I guess. So that would be, need to regenerate the grammar. That's regen. That gives me this big diff. This is what I made, and then there's all this generated nonsense. Make. And yeah, I've just checked out the main branch from something old, so I need to that's just probably to get clean everything and rebuild everything again.
Oh, that's interesting. I've never used Git Clean Fade.
Okay,
I'm gonna
so
look into that.
clean
Clean. Oh,
Uh,
FXDE. Okay. Cool.
so you need to use it with force, otherwise it doesn't actually work.
That's funny.
It's a command that removes all files that are not tracked by Git.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
Right. So that's obviously very dangerous. It's losing your work, so you need to tell it force. Either force or dry run, which will tell you what it would do. Then the X means remove only files that are explicitly ignored by Git.
Oh, okay.
So that's usually stuff that's created by the build system,
Yes.
and not anything you might want to check in. Then I use D, which is recursing
Oh,
into
it's just
untracked
okay.
directories, which is quite important when cleaning stuff up. And then there's the exception, it's E, the exclude pattern. So I'm not removing the config cache because that makes config faster.
Okay.
When I do configure, like my favorite configure flags for building Python, it's pretty fast.
Oh, that's nice because I build my own Python from source when the new ones come out.
This dash capital C or dash cache, I think it is,
Yep.
makes it much faster if you keep the cache around.
Very cool.
And then I have Ccache can install system wide, so the compilation gets cached as well. One thing that's slower is the tests. So I'll run make test because I don't actually know which tests are testing the functionality I just changed. And so I'll run them all. And so what make test does is it'll run the Python I just built with -m test. So run all tests, and it runs with how many jobs, how many processors
Right.
I have, that many jobs. So what I
Right.
like to do is to set this to something ridiculously high. I have 20 cores. I do 30 jobs.
Okay.
Because some of those tests are doing stuff like testing async and timing and stuff like that, and they do a lot of sleeps. So if I do a lot of jobs, it makes things faster.
Oh, that's useful because my server's got 20 cores, but I enabled hyperthreading, so I end up with 40 threads.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Blizzard
that would be a good,
20s also with hyperthreading.
nice. Okay.
The problem with this is if you have 30 jobs all doing something, it'll interfere with whatever you're actually doing on the computer, which in my
Right.
case is recording video and streaming it to 2 different services, and I don't really
Right.
want that to stutter. So what I do is run it with nice to lower the priority of the
Oh.
processes. I run it with ionize to lower the disk access priority. And there's one more command, like magical thing that I found, which is change the. What is this? Well, at least on Linux, change the like scheduling attributes of the process, and I set it to batch.
Oh,
So
how
I
nice.
basically
Okay.
tell the system to not worry being fair to all these processes and
Mm-hmm.
switching between them as they run so that everyone gets their fair share. But basically, it takes one and it runs until that process needs, for example, wait for a disk or a timeout or something like that. So with that, that's the fastest way to run the test suite that I found, basically. And then I also run with -w for the tests, which takes all the failed tests and reruns them afterwards in verbose mode. So if anything fails, I get to see what failed. Yeah, so that was a little digression. That's how I run Python tests.
I love it. That's cool.
It's much slower than usual because I'm doing this video streaming thing. Yeah, it looks like it gets to most of them in half a minute, which is fine. And there we get the errors. So I guess we'll get to find out which of the test is failing.
Now, it's always good to start with the failing test.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Shows something here already. So, this was supposed to be cannot assign to expression, but instead of that, it's in expected after for loop variables. I think we saw that earlier when I tried to do this change. So that is test syntax. Funnily enough. Right, and then I also get a failure because the system tests assume that I'm not using this weird scheduling trick. One of these days I'll get around to fixing that. But now we can just run the failing one, this test POSIX, like that. Maybe in verbose mode. That's not the POSIX, it's syntax, of course. In verbose mode, and it'll. Wow, it even adds color nowadays. Nice. So this is what we'll need to fix, and I'll set that to run on each change. So apparently this change is not enough, and I wonder what we could do to fix that. Maybe there should be an invalid something else. Invalid what is this? Invalid for if clause. Add that here in front. Of course, I need to make everything. Make region PEGen and then make Python and then run the tests. And we'll test this automatically. And that works. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know too much about how this peg grammar works, but I know the order of stuff is important. So if I add this invalid rule to invalid for target as the first option, that doesn't work, but if I make it its own rule, apparently that works. And I guess if I asked Pablo, he would tell me why that is. So I should probably do that on the review.
I see.
Now let's do the other one. This start expression. Do we have an invalid start expression? Oh, it's right at the start. So invalid start expression is cannot assign to iterable argument unpacking. But I don't think I can just add this lone star here into this one, because this is before the correct one. So if I do this, I think even this regeneration thing will tell me in start expression there's an alternative that will never be visited, because this will, well, you know, when this matches, that's it. That's the start expression, right? So this one needs to be low.
Lower, okay.
And I guess I need to name it something else if I do that, right? So this one is I guess let's make this invalid start expression unpacking. And this one needs to be different, so this, let's see if that works. Oh, that works. It's nice. This might be easier than I thought. And then there's this invalid type parameter, which has two rules for the syntaxer, but maybe they could be combined into one. Would that work? Yeah, apparently. So maybe I can just add invalid type parameter here and put these in that. Okay. Looks like it all works. It's funny. Let's run the tests as well. Anyway, this is just one part of the problem. The other part, as Pablo asked, would be prevent by review or automation rules that have phrase syntax error in the action. And I don't think I can, or I don't think we can prevent that by review. Apparently it's slipped past review in 4 cases now. So there should be some kind of automation rule for that. And I wonder where a rule like that would go. Oh, we have 2 errors now. Test type perhaps.
I'm going to step out of the room for a moment to grab a bowl of cereal.
Definitely. I heard something. Are you back?
No.
And your cereal.
Yeah.
So what happens here is another test failed, which was the test for type parameters, which makes sense. And the problem here is that this is star name colon expression
Yeah.
for invalid type parameters, and the problem is that the parser first tries without these invalid rules. So it parsed type param as this,
Okay.
and the type param successfully parsed, so that wasn't retried with the invalid rule. So we get some generic syntax error expected the parentheses in some function definition. So I guess what we need to do is to make this not match star name and colon. I wonder if we can just use the negative look ahead. The way to spell negative look ahead? Yeah. No.
Maybe not.
Probably not.
I noticed it can be a little confusing at first sight because we're testing error messages.
We are, yeah.
And so.
and in a small window. So this results in a syntax error. And yeah, it's supposed to raise cannot use bandwidth param spec, but instead it raises expected parentheses. And I guess this negative look ahead didn't work. I guess again the type parameter didn't match at all. Maybe this invalid type parameter needs to be in some other rule, the one that raised this syntax error. So where is this used? So let's search for a whole word here. It's only used in these two places. It's a type parameter sequence. How would it work if I wanted to change this to invalid type parameter? Well, I don't know. I don't know how this works.
Is it time for some debugging symbols?
Well, that's the problem. I don't know how to develop this. I mean,
yeah, I know.
This is done by the parser generator.
Okay.
Which is back to some deep theory. Generates C code by visiting AST and I don't know where the invalid rules are even handled. Let's grab for that. And the C generator. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Node names ends with without invalid. I call some invalid rules. I guess what we're looking at is if it starts with invalid. So this is visiting alt, looking at items and looking at whether the first thing in these items starts with invalid. If it does, it checks if we're calling things with invalid rules. So this is the generated C code.
And
I guess if it's calling with invalid rules, it'll Right, if it starts with invalids, it checks a flag before it even considers that alternative. Okay. So what does call with invalid rules do? If it's without invalid, it calls it sets called invalid rules to 0. But where is this set? What's the scope of this call invalid rules? Call invalid. Huh.
Now, why does it say without invalid? What is it? Complaint. What
So this is
scenario is it?
for rules whose name ends with without invalid. Do we have any of those?
So those are good rules.
So we have
Oh.
Exactly one of them. It's called expression without invalid.
Okay.
And that causes the rule to not call invalid rules under. So yeah, so there's invalid expression, which to get a better error message apparently needs to parse something 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 and then a valid expression. So I guess this is not looking for better error messages in that expression anymore. So it needs this to basically ignore all the invalid rules and not raise any syntax errors.
All right. I'm confident that I'll understand this after reviewing it a few times.
I don't think we really need to look at this without invalid. It's not really relevant to what we're doing right now.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
But okay, I see where call invalid rules is being set now. It's in parser pgen. So parser pgen.c internal parser functions. Okay. So this is a function called reset parser state for error pass, which is called by pgen run parser, which is called by run parser from string and run parser from file. So apparently this is the main entry point for the parser, and it calls parse, and if the parser fails, then it can allow incomplete input. So if it got to the end of source, it's incomplete input. If it didn't raise a syntax error, it re-raises that error. Well, lets it bubble through. And then we make a second parser pass. And extra invalid rules will be active during the parsing. Right, so I guess this resets the parser state. It remembers where it was, enables the invalid rules, parses again, and I guess it fudges the syntax error, and it raises that error. So it looks like the whole parser is run 2 times if the first time it failed. I don't know. I still don't know why we get this syntax error. Is that no, there's expected parentheses. Maybe it's this forced token here. I guess I shouldn't change forced tokens to look ahead. Oh, now it works. So,
wow. Okay.
the opening parentheses appears in the function definition grammar as this thing, which is eager parse. So the parser will not backtrack and will immediately fail with syntax error if this E cannot be parsed. Okay, and it's used a few times throughout the grammar, but apparently it interferes with these type parameters here. So yeah, I guess what this is doing is it calls, the def name and the type parameters. The type parameters fail to parse, but they're optional, so the parser ignores them.
I guess.
And moves on to this. It eagerly reports the error here. I'm not sure if I myself follow what I'm saying.
So but you mean if the type parameters are invalid, it will just skip them altogether?
Yeah.
Shouldn't it return an error that they're not valid?
Well,
and then I don't know. I mean, I guess
to parse.
Oh, if it fails to parse, then it can't. Oh, okay.
Right. So if it fails to parse, that means these are not type parameters, and they might be something afterwards.
Something else. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
So I guess do we do here? These type parameters, they have to start with a square bracket, right? And I guess that means that if there's a square bracket, we need type parameters. How do we encode that? I guess this is tricky. So if there is a square bracket, we need type parameters. If there is parentheses, we want that, right? So
Right.
how do I say that using the grammar? What is even the type of this expression? So I can say probably cannot do an empty alternative here like that. Don't think that'll work. Yeah, cannot do something empty. Can I commit to the current alternative? I think I saw something like that.
Oh, the down two more.
Look, I can do a look ahead, succeed if E can be parsed, and then commit to the current alternative. I wonder what's the scope of that current alternative. So I do a look ahead for this and commit to the type parameters. I'd be very surprised if that worked. No, that's not
Segmentation.
That's very
fault.
not valid. I don't know if I can do this. probably need to get the type parameters out of whatever this t is. How do I do that? A function that parses function def raw. That's not it. It's this one. This part is apparently TMP34 rule, and it's a void pointer in C, and this is a temporary rule that does a look ahead, then does a cut, and then parses the type parameters, but it returns some dummy name. Right, so I think I know what the problem is here, and I don't know if I'm going too deep. So I guess the problem here is that the result of this whole expression is not the same as just the type parameters. Right, so if I do this, this t variable gets set to this type parameters, and if I do that, it gets set to something that contains all of these three things, and that's not the right type. Does that make a bit of sense?
A little bit.
A little bit.
I mean, I the outline of it, yeah.
But I can't put the t here. Apparently the variable needs to be at the top level, I guess. I probably cannot put some kind of different rule here. Maybe I want to change this to a separate rule, but then this would fail to parse and we'd be at the same in the same situation as here. Now if this whole thing fails to parse, I guess even like this, then the parser will fail here rather than here. I don't know. This is tougher than I expected.
Yeah, I'm not much use here.
That's fine. what does this actually do in the parser? There's a expect forced token. What does expect force token do? There's not a lot of those. I guess it's defined in here. And it does raise syntax error, known location. I need to change this invalid def raw. What if I put type params invalid here? Wait, did I? Do I have them in this grammar? Oh, invalid type param. Ah, can't use invalid type params. I have a rule for just one of them. How do I say if this already parsed? You should get the error from here. I don't think it's the cut, is it? This works. I guess it's just slower.
Oh. A little bit slower.
So what does that actually do? The parser will not backtrack and will immediately fail with syntax error if E cannot be parsed. And the cut is commit to the current alternative even if it fails to parse. So what's the difference between me putting this here and that eager thing? apparently this works. So I'm saying if this was already parsed, then I commit to the current alternative. But I guess it can somehow backtrack. Although I wonder how. Yeah, I don't know. This looks like it works. No, it doesn't. Wait, the syntax failed. Running this wrong. Yeah, I'm just running it wrong. It didn't work. Sorry. Oh, it doesn't raise the proper syntax error. Right? Yeah. This first rule means that if this is not parsed, it'll raise the syntax error named expected this token. While if I don't use that, it'll not use that special syntax error. Huh. So maybe that should be something like open
parens. Yeah.
And then I do open paren is either this or
the
not that. And what should this return? Does everything have to return? No. This doesn't need to return anything. But this is invalid open paren, I guess. So this would raise syntax error. How do you raise syntax error again?
Oh, that's cool. I'm starting to understand this.
Raise syntax error. I don't know, maybe in this rule I can instead do the force token.
It's failing at test type params, not the params. Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, what do they say? Explicit is better than implicit.
In this case, it's not. Yeah, this will just say invalid syntax for
Okay, so much more.
definition without the parentheses. I put the force token there. Yeah. It'll do the expected thing. I don't know. There needs to be some trick here. So there needs to be some trick here that I'm not seeing. And I should probably ask the grammar experts for help here. It's weird.
Can we phone a friend to see if any are online?
I don't think they're online. That's done by putting this up for review, I guess, in the state it is in.
Okay.
Is this important? It's the same thing. Like it's race syntax error. Means this succeeded. It raised a syntax error. Huh. No. Guess I give up. I don't know how to solve this problem, at least right now. So I will just leave it failing as just one test. Hopefully that's failing. And maybe the more interesting thing to do, rather than looking at this, or maybe I should revert it to some better state, or revert it to the original state. So type parameter sequence on line 644 or so was formatted like this, and the rest is moving stuff around, which should be fine. Right, so guess I'll put the pull request up for up on GitHub and ask how to do this.
Yeah, I guess
the other part.
a draft or something.
Yeah, draft, or just go to the issue and link to the diff. But I guess that will have to be done after the beta, since right now everybody's trying to get features into the beta.
Sure.
Nobody has time for improvements. Well, the other part to do here is to automate, rules having race syntax error needing to be an invalid. Let's see, where can we add this? So, and this is all new to me. So, handling the invalid rules was in parser.c. So I guess what we could do is change this race syntax error macro. Where is it defined? Region.h and here. So these are the definitions of race syntax error, and maybe I could change these so that they're only valid in the second part of the parsing, when the parser goes back and tries all the invalid rules. Problem is they're also used in here, like by pgen expect forced result, expect forced token, expect number token. Wow, this supports Python 3.6 and below. I guess we can get rid of that. Run parser, multiple statements found while compiling a single statement. What does race syntax error even do? It calls raise error. And I guess we can call that directly.
Oh.
From in here. Oh no, by pgen raise error.
Incomplete.
Raise incomplete input error. Where else is this function used? So in all the error macros. That's it. So what do the error macros do? You just call the function, give it an argument named p, and the syntax error, and then some 0, and then whatever arguments the macro has. did the arguments mean? This is use mark. I want to use mark. So back to what I was thinking. The goal is to make sure the race syntax error is only used in the invalid rules. So one way to do that would be to change these functions to take an additional argument saying whether we should check if we're in the parse of the part of the parse that is looking for the errors. And the other way to go around this would be to do it textually. So when we build the grammar, like this meta grammar thing, when this target is built, and we just textually check if the action here is contains the string, phrase syntax error, and say that this can only happen with invalid with items. Or invalid rules. That might be a bit easier. This is this the right place? We have rules which have right-hand sides. Right-hand sides have alts. Alts have actions. But I guess the place where we know the rule name is this rule. Right. So what we could do here is, so this is the last place where we know the rule name. So if the name doesn't start invalid, then we go through all the alts in the RHS and if that alts action contains raise syntax error, then we raise. What do we raise? Grammar error. Raise syntax error only allowed in invalid rules. That makes sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And we get non-type is not iterable. I guess that would be here I'm iterating. Run this with -v to get a full traceback. XR and alt action. So this action is none. Which as dot alts, I guess must be a list. That one's not optional, but the alt action can be optional. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. And this looks good. And if I go in here and make a rule called X invalid with item, then this will shout at me, race in syntax are only allowed in valid rules. And let's add some more information. This syntax are only found in allowed in valid rules, found in rule X invalid with item. That's exactly what I wanted. I wonder if this can be tested. So are there tests for the tool itself? I wonder. So that would be, I guess, some test tools. No. There are tests around in the peg generator. Test. Oh, lib test peg generator. Okay. Speech in. Is there something I can use? Grammar validator. Wait, there's a grammar validator? What is a grammar validator?
I've never heard of it.
Me neither. Oh, there's an alternative that will never be visited.
Ooh.
Huh. So this
That
looks
sounds
like
handy.
so yeah, so this is the piece that gives you the error. There is an alternative that will never be visited, which is great. And I guess this is the piece that should validate the grammar rather than putting it here in the constructor overall. So what does this do? Grammar validator. It does visit. That's a grammar visitor. It visits rules. Oh, it does visit RHS. Okay. Oh, and this does some magic. So that, I guess this is the main function. For each validator class and all subclasses of this, it will basically use the class. Okay, so let's do this. So I guess raise rule validator, which visits the needs to visit rules. So this this will be the rule. And for all the alts, I guess we don't need the index. So first we'll check if the rule name starts with invalid, or starts with invalid. Is that what's used? After that. So if this starts with invalid, anything's allowed. Otherwise, we visit all the alternatives. So that would be node.rhs.alts. Don't need this enumerate, and now do the same thing we got here. So that here, if the alts action has an action and has syntax error, then we raise a validation error. And maybe we match this wording. Self.rule name. Oh, the rule name is set on when the grammar is run. That means we don't need to visit rules, we can visit the alts directly. So if the rule name starts with invalid, that's okay. And then this can just use node. Matches the validator wording. So let's see. Okay, that didn't give us the error. I don't think I have the error. Right, there we go. The validator was run. We got a validation rule in X blah blah blah. There's an alternative that contains a syntax error. This is only allowed in invalid rules. Perfect. Hey, learned something new. There's a validator for the grammar.
Yeah, no kidding.
And we need to test it, right? So test rule blah blah. Test raising rule. Test raising valid rule. So this start will say let's rename a syntax error with this is not allowed, and blah 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 validator uses the subrule validator and the raise rule validator, which I probably need to import. Okay. Let's see if that works. Remove this invalid rule and try the test. Peg generator. What happened here? This peg generator was skipped. All of it. Ooh. Apparently test peg generator needs a lot of resources. But only test type params failed, which is fine. Okay, so I guess that's the change. There's the change to the grammar. There's a test for raising valid rule. Want to not allow that, and then at the very end, after the lots of generated text, there's the raise rule validator. Might be correct. I don't know. This looks okay.
Yeah. Do we need to refer to the issue number? I guess not. No,
Yeah,
I guess not yet.
that would be this one, right?
Yeah, okay.
Validator that makes sure a syntax error only appears in invalid rules. This is done textually. this looks at the action text. As a string. Move all such action. Move such actions to rules. Works for two of them, but the type param rules I guess this is it. Push it.
Yeah.
And I guess this is what I can, without the expand, this is what I can show to people who know more about grammars than I do. So let's do that.
Very nice.
It's like an email header. When you reply to something.
Oh. Oh, that's cool. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
Tried and tested. So I tried do this, but I got stuck moving. What was it? The type param syntax errors to invalidable rules. Force token, that was this one, and that was in function def role. Seemed to me I've tested this one. Syntax error from the force token is test. Error name as well.
Cool. Nice. Exemplary.
I guess this is not important. Yeah, so this is as far as I can go. And I guess we can return to our originally scheduled programming.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Or maybe not, because there's like 10 minutes left for me. Anyway,
Sure, we can break here.
It looks like I'll not have time next week for family reasons.
Okay.
And then 2 weeks after that, it's PyCon US.
Oh wow. Are you coming?
Yes, I am. Are you?
I have not yet figured out if I can make it, but I would very much like to go.
Well,
Yeah, it'd be a pleasure.
maybe we can do this in person if there's
That would be a blast.
if the time
Sure,
slot checks
sure.
out. I don't know what time it'll be. There.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. Anyway, next week I'll just call it off. So
Okay.
see
Fair
you
enough.
either at PyCon or next month. Almost next month.
Very good. Very nice. All right then. Thanks so much.